Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, August 14th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Let's get the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread. First card that we are starting our day off with today is... we have here the Ace of Cups, and we love to see this right now. A lot of care and attention being paid right now to health of the self, working through moments right now of feeling spiritual and emotional inspiration and sustainability, really operating under that question of what feels like it sustains you at this time. We love to see this right now because this is a lot of care and positive support coming through for the self at this moment. Let's see if we can get more clarity on the other cards attached to this one to find out where else we are today. Second card we have coming through in our spread for today is we've got double cup energy coming through today with the combination of our Ace of Cups in combination with our Page of Cups. This will feel a bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For masculine energy today, this is really positive energy because what we're really seeing is not only is this a lot of care and consideration being paid to the self, to both your emotional and spiritual self, allowing yourself to embody that abundance mindset as you go forward from this point, but we also see that there is a bit of frivolity and play coming in today, specifically as it relates to the masculine energy, doing things that you find are both enjoyable but also sustainable, which is what we really like to see. We really like to see these two cards in combination. While for feminine energy right now, this could also be a lot of care and attention that you are paying to your own spiritual, emotional self at this time. Again, working to manifest towards you at this moment, masculine energy that is similarly embodying these qualities and characteristics, or working in active partnership with a masculine energy you feel is in this embodiment phase of this energy. But what we like about this is there is a sense of play that is coming to this. This is finding that sweet point between what feels like it is spiritually and emotionally sustainable, as well as enjoyable at this time. Beautiful cards for us to be starting our day off with today. Now, third card coming through today in our 5-card spread for today is... we have here the Tower in its reversal. These are all absolutely beautiful cards to be seeing in combination right now, specifically because this is speaking towards situations and circumstances that may have caused some point of conflict for you in the past. These are either situations or circumstances that you're currently experiencing that you're working through a moment of correction on at this point, or simultaneously, there is something about this moment or circumstance that is bringing to mind or calling attention back to some situations and circumstances that may have caused some problems for you in the past. But what we really appreciate about this energy is we see that this is a moment of remediation, a point of observation right now in terms of really identifying what is working for you at this time, what feels like it is coming through in a state of sustainability versus any places or spaces that you may have felt that you required some point of correction. There's a lot of easement that is coming through in these cards right now. You may be aware that we've been in the midst of many planets being in retrograde, but for masculine energy right now, the source in terms of coming into a point of correction at this time is really looking at how you can address these things. And for masculine energy right now, this could be a moment that you are bringing some level of levity. You're bringing a point of easement in around circumstances or situations, specifically with this care and attention being paid to trying to create some state of opportunity or some state of easement around the circumstances or situations that you may have been experiencing that have been causing or creating these difficulties. We're seeing that this is having an immediate impact on the masculine energy right now in terms of their own feelings of frivolity, easement at this moment, almost a sense of relief that is coming in right now towards the masculine energy and feeling that coming from within. While for feminine energy right now, we see that there is a lot of care and consideration that you specifically are pacing to what feels like it is most supportive emotionally and spiritually for the self at this time. You are either working to manifest towards you right now masculine energy that is simultaneously supporting you in your own personal endeavors in this fashion, or you're actively experiencing this with a masculine energy that is around you at this time, that recognizes your own need for this at this moment and is able to provide it thus. And this is also, what we love so much about this is for the feminine energy right now, this is also allowing an opportunity of correction to come in, a point of easement, moving away from circumstances or situations that may have been causing a challenge, either in the recent past or even something that felt very triggering to past situations or scenarios. This could even be a moment that we are seeing right now that is occurring where there may be some feelings of being triggered around circumstances that feel similar to the past. But the key differentiation point is that you're seeing that point of easement. You are seeing that there is a path that is being cleared that is different than the one that you may have previously experienced, specifically because you're getting this level or degree of emotional and spiritual support even as you go through it. Now, fourth card that we have coming through today for our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 8 of Pentacles. A lot of care and attention being paid to the work that you are moving forward with thus far. A lot of attention being paid to your passion, to your projects. Really committing your time and energy right now into the spaces and places that you are seeing its best effect. And what we also appreciate about this moment right now for both masculine and feminine energy is we see that this is feeling like a lot of remediative work that you're personally doing at this time. There's a moment right now of really committing these efforts and energies into these spaces and places as you go forward thus far. And what we appreciate about this for both masculine and feminine energy is you are putting that care and attention and work into the spaces and places that require it right now to get the best results. For masculine energy, we're almost seeing that this is a point of immediate easement that is occurring within these circumstances or situations. Hence that feeling of levity, hence that feeling of enjoyment that we see is being added to situations and scenarios at this time. While for feminine energy, this could be a bit of more of a deeper exploration that is occurring at this moment. There's something about the feminine going much more within the self right now to find that emotional or spiritual plateau, finding that source of unending compassion or joy for the self at this moment, being supported or working to manifest around you at this time, energy that helps you maintain that level or maintain that vibration. And we are seeing that this is that correction point that is similarly allowing you to really focus on the task at hand. Now, fifth card coming through today for our 5-card spread for today, before we start getting clarification on these cards, is we have here the 4 of Swords in its reversal. Now, what did I mention recently about the idea that some of these circumstances or situations can be somewhat triggering? We can recognize often when we see these tower moments come up, even when they're in their reverse position, these can be very difficult circumstances or situations to go through right now, because what we're really identifying is happening is there is some recall of the past that is necessary at this time. A point of optics in terms of situations and circumstances that have may not worked towards your benefit in the past. But what we appreciate about this is you're utilizing this moment. You're utilizing those points where you may have had those points of crisis or failure coming through right now to help navigate your path forward at this time into spaces and places that you feel are operating in more productive ways. And this is at the same time why we see that this could be some of this feeling of the past coming back to the surface at this moment. This is either going to be an emotional calibration point, something that is emotionally triggering, that is emotionally rising up to you and on a metaphysical level that reminds you of past circumstances or situations, or this could be something very tangible that is happening at the present moment that is requiring you some level or degree of optics on past situations. But what we appreciate right now for both masculine and feminine energy right now is this is looking at those circumstances to find the point of adjustment so that you can move productively through these circumstances and situations. This is a very positive energy right now because we really see, and what we really appreciate right now is the care and the capacity and degree of consideration that is being paid towards these circumstances or situations at this moment is around what feels like it is coming through in the most emotionally and spiritually supportive aspect of your own experience at this time that is helping you navigate some of this fraught territory. Now, let's see if we can get some clarification on the cards that we're seeing at this moment. Clarification between our Ace of Cups in combination with our Page of Cups. So, For feminine energy right now, a lot of attention being paid to the balance of the emotional and spiritual self at this moment, either working right now in combination with masculine energy. That for the feminine right now, there could be a feeling that the masculine is moving at a point of a bit more easement today. Feminine's doing a lot of this tangible work right now, experiencing this on a deeper level, while for masculine, this is just coming through right now almost as like a sense of levity or easement on circumstances or situations at this time. While for masculine energy right now, this is just seeing that supportive architecture around you at this moment, or working very hard towards it at this time. Potentially for masculine energy, what we're really identifying is potentially happening at this time, which we love to see, is masculine energy could be putting a lot of care and attention right now on the self in the spaces and places of moderation as well, trying to find that point between where they can enjoy themselves to the best of their ability, while at the same time maintaining their own level or degree of spiritual or emotional balance at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Cups in its reversal. What did I just say about this idea of masculine energy working on this space of moderation? Why are we seeing this becoming a bit of an issue right now? Well, we're recognizing right now for the masculine energy that there's something coming through right now that is requiring a lot of care and consideration as it relates to emotional balance. That there's almost something right now about the masculine energy moving into a state of trying to find some of that easement point in the tangible space, in situations and circumstances that bring a sense of ease, that bring a sense of enjoyment, that bring a sense of pleasure. This could be specifically because masculine energy, while they're in a space of a lot of attention of care of the self on that more external foundation, there's something internally that is feeling like there is a bit of a blockage. And that blockage has to do right now with an emotional offer that you potentially want to put forth, but you're feeling like you are limited or prevented from doing at this time. This could be trying to balance for the masculine right now, this feeling. And we did recognize this. This is something that we have been noticing in the masculine energy for throughout a good portion of this Venus in retrograde cycle, because what we've really been identifying is there is an aspect of vulnerability that comes to the surface here, specifically for masculines, when you're in this moment right now of having to express your emotional feelings at this time. This is indicating right now that there is some of this emotional blockage that you're still working through right now during this retrograde period. We see the point of balance that's coming through right now is masculine energy is returning a lot of this sense of emotionality to their own selves, to those spaces or places that create this sense of easement, as they are working right now to come into a state of emotional or spiritual balance, potentially around circumstances or situations where they are feeling a bit emotionally blocked or emotionally limited at this time. While for feminine energy at this time, this is that moment that we are also seeing that you are putting a lot of care and attention right now in the spiritual and emotional sense of support that you're building for yourself at this moment. And again, for half of the feminine collective, what we're really identifying at this point is you are either feeling or experiencing tangible support at this time with masculine energy that is simultaneously helping to support you as you take this journey for yourself at this time. There's a sense that this energy is creating a sense of easement, creating a sense of levity, creating almost like a less degree of like your own feelings right now. And this at the same time could either be a single manifestation of masculine that is bringing things into a more playful territory, though you may feel some sense of them being emotionally blocked or emotionally limited at this capacity right now in terms of what they are expressing. Or for the other part of the feminine collective right now, this could be a moment that you are potentially struggling between two masculine energies. And while we see that one is coming through in a way that feels like it is supportive, it feels like it is creating a sense of easement as you continue forward on your own spiritual and emotional journey of balance at this time, there could still be a lot of care and consideration being paid to some opportunity or offer that did not come through the way that you would ideally have intended or desired at this time. But what we appreciate for the feminine feminine energy in either of those iterations right now is feminine is really putting their focus and concentration on what feels like it is the most spiritually and emotionally supportive space for them to occupy at this time. Even while some of the masculine energy right now, there's a lot of emotionality tied to those energies, but the question isn't necessarily the emotionality tied to them so much as what feels supportive to the feminine energy as they proceed forward from this point. While for masculine, this is going to be a lot more of that internal struggle to find balance at this moment, specifically around those areas and opportunities that allow you a state of easement versus those places that you may be feeling some kind of emotional overwhelm or emotional blocker as it relates to what you are trying to provide towards feminine and what is being received, or feeling potentially that you are blocked to some degree in terms of what you can offer that energy at this time. Let's continue to get clarification on these cards right now. Clarification between our Page of Cups energy in combination with our Tower in its reversal. This will feel a bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For masculine energy right now, we see that there is this sense of easement that is coming into play, trying to find that point of enjoyment. And for some of the masculine energy right now, this could even be coming through to a certain extent as a bit of distraction energy for yourself at this time as you try to navigate or mitigate some situations or circumstances that may have created some sense of upset for you in the past. We are seeing that this is the correction point. This is the masculine's energy way of trying to navigate through some circumstances and situations that they're currently experiencing that either, as I mentioned, are situations or experiences that they're trying to come into a place of mitigation for, trying to ease a tower moment, if you will, versus something that may feel very triggering at this time, something that is reminding the masculine energy of situations or circumstances from the past that may have created some sense of difficulty or disorder, but that at the same time the masculine energy is trying to navigate it with this levity, this rising sense of self, trying to find enjoyment where it can be found at this time, almost as a way to, like, again, navigate around the tower situations or circumstances, or ease their own mind as it relates to some circumstances that they're experiencing some problems or frustrations around right now. While for feminine energy right now, we see that this is also a moment that you are putting a lot of care and attention right now into situations and circumstances either you're currently experiencing in the present that you're coming into a point of easement on, trying to ease through some points of crisis that may have been rising up during this Venus in retrograde cycle, or simultaneously that there are circumstances and situations from the past that you are currently re-experiencing either on a metaphysical level or in a tangible way that is happening in your present experience at this time. And this is putting a lot of care and attention right now towards masculine energy, because again, for some of the feminine collective right now, this is feeling like you are getting some support from outside masculine energy that you feel is coming from a state of easement. They're helping you feel easier as it relates to navigating some of this point of crisis that you're trying to work through right now with that attention and care of the self at this moment. Or for the other part of the feminine collective right now, this is a lot of caring and orientation that we see that feminine is paying towards the masculine energy that they are allowing towards them at this time, to really assess their intentionality at this moment to see if they are moving in a degree of helping them come into a state of easement, or if they are adding to some of this feeling of that remediation or that triggering impact that we are seeing that is being identified here. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification is coming through right now with our Page of Wands in its reversal. So one of the things that we're really seeing right now that it is very important for both masculine and feminine energy right now has to do in the realms of communication. For masculine and feminine energy, this will feel a bit different depending on where you align, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For masculine energy right now, a lot of this point of remediation right now, we have articulated and identified that there has been something that has been coming through right now with the masculine energy, assessing situations and circumstances to really ask themselves how they can communicate, what they can communicate, if there is a way to navigate into better communication in some situations and circumstances that have been causing some degree of difficulty or hurdle at this time. Masculine energy right now is withholding to a certain certain extent, some communication, or experiencing something where they're trying to correct for some communication that came through that may have created or occurred around tower situations at this time. But what we really identify and appreciate right now for the masculine energy is this is a moment that masculine energy is finding that ability to rise up out of those situations and circumstances, really gravitating to those spaces and places that create joy for them at this moment, even through any circumstances or situations that they're experiencing some kind of communication hurdles or challenges. And the masculine energy is also potentially effectively learning from those experiences, either from the ones that they're totally navigating in the present moment right now, or ones from your recent past masculine that may have required some care and attention right now in terms of how and what you communicate at this time so that you can navigate these better going forward. Well, for the feminine energy right now, this is more of that assessing energy that we see that has been coming through as it relates to masculine energy at this time. You will see here for the feminine, there's a lot of this reversal card. So again, for some of the mass feminine collective right now, this is trying to navigate spaces or places with a single manifestation of masculine, that while you recognize the fact that they come forward in a space of easement, they come forward in a space of support. You may even be feeling right now that they're creating a place or space that makes it easier for you to navigate your own emotional and spiritual balance at this moment. Feminine energy is putting a lot of care and attention right now towards a masculine energy that they're allowing into their life at this time to really assess whether they're going to continue to work in this space of moving away from circumstances or situations that may have caused some degree of crisis at this point, or feeling something that is triggering from the past right now that is reminding them of the differentiation point between what they're currently experiencing and the results that led to tower situations in the past due to the masculine energy versus the difference in the new energy that is coming towards them at this time. And this is what is allowing them to have either, again, this moment that you are looking at from the past that is feeling triggered, but you are seeing a different results because of the actions of those that are now incorporated in the same experience. Or this is a moment right now where you are effectively navigating that same sense, working right now in collaboration with masculine energy that is simultaneously also being very cautious in terms of not wanting to trigger any types of crisis right now as you proceed forward through this experience. So what we're really seeing right now that is very important is the fact that while there is this point of correction that is coming through right now, this could be feeling like very triggering energy at this time. We've got Tower in its reversal and our Three of Swords in its reversal here, which says that there's a lot of attention that is being paid to not taking any missteps at this time, trying to navigate away from circumstances or situations that may have caused these problems in the past, but really doing so with a lot of care and attention, with the focus for both masculine and feminine energy right now, feeling and appreciating what feels like it is most spiritually and emotionally supportive at this time to help you navigate through any of these triggering emotions. Let's continue to get clarity right now between our Tower energy in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Pentacles. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, there is this point of working through a point of easement, a point of correction that may be required at this time, a point of recognizing spaces or places that may have been causing issues or point of crisis. This is either something that you're currently navigating in this moment or simultaneously something that is triggering about a past experience that was in very much the same way. But what we appreciate about this time is that you are working through the problems. You are working through the issues. You are putting a lot of care and attention right now in terms of finding that path forward that is going to feel both emotionally and spiritually aligned to your highest intentions at this time, all for the sake of working through this potential avoidance area in terms of the trigger point and making sure that you're navigating in a space or place that feels safest for you at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Pentacles. A lot of this is going to feel very insular right now. A lot of care and attention to your immediate environment, your immediate home, your immediate needs. Being able to look at these things with a lot of care and attention. There's a lot of work that is going to be had today in terms of investing a lot of time and effort and energy, both at the task at hand, but also on your own level or degree of comfort at this time, so that you can move forward in a space or place where where you can feel at a point of easement and also feel like you can work in the most functional and best way possible. We love this for both masculine and feminine energy at this moment, because all of this is paying a lot of care and attention to right now, to circumstances or situations that you may be feeling like they have been causing some degree of crisis, some degree of remediation that has been required. And again, as we indicated, this is either immediate moments that you are now working to actively correct through at this moment, or simultaneously, these are situations and circumstances that you're feeling a lot of those old triggers potentially rising to the surface based on past lessons, past experiences that may have created similar feelings of crisis, and working right now to avoid those same level or degree of circumstances or situations happening once again. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 8 of Pentacles in combination with our 4 of Swords in its reversal. So, as we mentioned, a bit of a triggering energy today, at least in this department, potentially related to the past. Circumstances and situations from the past rising up to the surface right now, either on a metaphysical level, internally within oneself, or in a very practical way, something from the past rising up that needs to be addressed today. But what we appreciate about this right now is you are taking different steps for yourself at this time. You are finding ways to work through them in opportunities and ways that you may not have done in the past. Why are you doing that at this moment? Well, we see that you are doing that at this moment because you are viewing these circumstances and situations with a different level of objectivity. You are recognizing the potential pitfalls from those past experiences, and they are helping you navigate forward in a more productive fashion. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification, is that transverse? I believe that's transverse. We've got here our 8 of Swords, and they are in its transverse. So this is one of those circumstances or situations that the solution right now is feeling a little bit sticky, is what we're really seeing, because we do recognize right now that while you are putting a lot of care and attention right now into some of that objectivity, looking at situations and circumstances from the past in order to inform your path going forward, putting a lot of care and effort and energy right now in the immediate moment to build that sense of peace, to build that sense of balance for yourself at this time, there could be a little bit more of this internal work that's happening for both masculine and feminine energy at this moment in terms of how to break through it, how to get through it in a way that is going to allow for that feeling of easement, to allow for that feeling of coming through one's own personal limitations or the limitations that you are have you feel set around you. One of the things that we will identify that we saw in our last daily collective read was this care and consideration that was being paid to trigger points. Really asking oneself if you felt like that trigger point was something that needed to be worked through internally, or whether it was an objective response and a logical response to some of the situations and circumstances around you at this time. This is where we're seeing some of this hairiness coming through right now with our 8 of Swords, because what this is really identifying at this moment is some feeling of uncertainty in terms of how to navigate through it. Because what we're really identifying that is interesting about this right now is there's a lot of care and consideration in terms of what you don't want to do right now. There's a lot of care and consideration in terms of what you would like to happen. But what needs to effectively shift for both masculine and feminine energy right now is really making sure that your focus and care and orientation is very much directed in the things of what you do want to happen, what you would like to have happen, as opposed to just coming out of situations or circumstances right now that feel like they are just coming from a space of remediation, which is something that we're seeing very heavily in the cards for today. So a lot of care and orientation should be paid to this right now to help you break out of any of the self-limiting beliefs that you may be feeling are creating a little bit of this like stuck space as you proceed forward from this point. This could also be why we're seeing some of this past energy rising to the surface right now that may effectively be feeling like it is limiting you or holding you back from the things that you need to do at this very moment. Let's continue to get clarification on these cards right now. Clarification between our Knight of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Page of Wands. So as I said, we definitely saw the fact that specifically for masculine energy right now, there's going to be a lot of care and orientation that is being paid right now too. A lot of care of the self, looking at what you feel is spiritually and emotionally imbalanced for you at this time. And it could lead to some energy of distraction right now for masculine energy at this moment. A lot of care and orientation being paid to moderation at this time. Feeling that point or that articulation in terms of what you identify is good for you at this moment versus something that may feel like more of a distraction point at this time. Something that feels good rather than is good. This is masculine energy trying to navigate this right now. Because we're also seeing here the masculine energy is effectively in a space that there's a point that there's an emotional blockage that is occurring right now in terms of what the masculine energy feels that they can emotionally convey at this time. And this emotional blockage is not only coming from the emotionality internally, but it's also coming from a practical blockage in terms of feeling like there's a limitation right now, masculine, that you are feeling both in terms of what you want to effectively emotionally offer at this time, but also how you can communicate where you're feeling. This is requiring, to a certain extent, we're seeing masculine, potentially even a lot of self-inquiry and self-work today. And one of the things that we really want to stress right now for masculine energy that's potentially feeling like this is you may be diverting or getting your mind off of it. You may be working to get your mind off of it right now with things that just feel good or things that just feel easy, these distraction points, if you will. While in a way, this is something that you're doing because you're having some of this blockage, that Eight of Swords energy, as you determine how to move through this point of stuckness related to what you want to communicate and how you want to communicate it. While for feminine energy right now, this is just a lot of masculine energy. Look at all of this masculine energy, and I will point out that there's something that needs to be paid here about the fact that some of this energy feels like it is a bit confusing. The reason that it is confusing is because, again, for feminine energy right now, there could be a moment of, again, a lot of care and appreciation being paid to a single manifestation of masculine energy. That while you may see them coming towards you or feeling them in something that feels more lighthearted, that feels like it's coming from a point of easement, there may be some misunderstandings or misclarification about what is emotionally attached to what is being offered at this time, because the feminine energy is seeing circumstances and situations where the masculine is coming forward just from potentially a state of frivolity, just from a place of distraction, just from a place of easement, but feeling potentially some anxiety in terms of the emotional offer or even the communication of what is being emotionally conveyed at this time. Hence why feminine energy is working on building this level or degree of peace within the self at this moment, even through this, either from a single manifestation of masculine that is embodying these qualities and characteristics at this moment, or potentially several different manifestations of masculine energy around the feminine at this time. But feminine energy, again, still having a lot of that caution that we've been seeing during this Venus in retrograde period to really assess whether the masculine energy feels like it is coming from a space of authenticity or if it's just one that is coming from a sense of luxury or enjoyment at this time. Feminine energy is putting a lot of this focus, continues to, we've been seeing it throughout this entire Venus in retrograde cycle. What feels like it is emotionally and spiritually supportive right now for them. And feminine energy even moving in a space where they'll accept and allow in masculine energy that is coming in a way that feels like it is at least authentic in terms of their own desire, in terms of how they want to move forward at this time. Clarification coming through these cards at this moment is we have here our Six of Swords in its reversal. What is this blockage point? What do we see coming through as this blockage? Because there is a blockage here today. We are recognizing it is very present on the table. That is why, and again, I do appreciate the fact that we are seeing that both for masculine and feminine energy right now, there's a lot of this internal work that's happening in terms of trying to find that emotional and spiritual balance at this time. But the problem around these circumstances or situations is, again, moving from a state of intentionality and purpose at this time, as opposed to one that just feels like it is coming from a point of remediation. Because what we're really seeing with some of these circumstances or situations, potentially even some of that past energy rising back up to the surface right now that is feeling like it is such a challenge, is the fact that it is creating a space that, while there is a degree and capacity of wanting to work through what you're experiencing at this time with a lot of care and attention in terms of not taking any missteps, we also see that there is something here that feels like the blockage in terms of your own personal ability to move away from those past circumstances or situations, to move away from those past experiences, even as you're immediately trying to remediate through them at this time. And the goal here is, what we really see is not just the fact that you want to move through them at this time, but you're trying to come into a space or place where you can abandon some of the grief. You can abandon some of that pain that you're carrying. Because what we're really seeing that is interesting is, for both masculine and feminine energy right now, it's not necessarily the idea that there isn't a path forward that is open for you at this time. The bigger task at hand, the nut to crack, if you will, is how to move forward from this time without carrying that sense of grief, without carrying that sense of loss, without carrying some of that disappointment. Hence, we see this deeper work that is happening right now on one's own sense of emotional and spiritual well-being at this time. For masculine energy right now, there's almost a feeling of distraction that is effectively coming into play at this moment. Hence that Page of Cups energy that we are seeing right now, because this is a bit of that blockage, because the masculine energy is almost trying to distract themselves from some spaces and places where they feel like they can't necessarily communicate their full emotional breadth at this time. They're either feeling it's not just a tangible blockage right now. It is an emotional blockage in terms of trying to navigate how they are feeling to yourself at this moment, in terms of what you're feeling, and so that you can express it. And masculine energy is doing some of this work right now, recognizing that they're just trying to let go of the grief around these circumstances and situations by moving into a state of easement. While for feminine energy right now, this is a lot of work that we see coming through right now, specifically in the areas of one's own emotional and spiritual best interest. Feminine energy is helping navigate through some of these hurdles and setbacks by looking less towards a masculine energy to try to identify and articulate and provide that sense of emotional support, trying to provide that sense of easement. Feminine energy is turning and going inwards right now to make sure that they can generate it for themselves at this moment, even in the face of masculine energy that is coming towards them from a good-natured or lighthearted perspective, all because this is the feminine's healing of those tower situations, potentially situations or circumstances that may have had masculine energy attached to it that did not have the ability to come forward with that emotional opportunity or expression, or from a space that they were not able to communicate. Feminine energy is going inward to do this work right now. Feminine energy, even with the masculine energy that's around them at this time, is recognizing that this is an internal journey that they themselves must take, that they can't effectively shift or adjust this energy that's around them. The best that the feminine energy can do is shift the place that they find themselves within themselves at this moment. And what we really appreciate for feminine right now is this is the task at hand, allowing this grief to fall to the wayside as they proceed forward from this point. While for masculine energy, this is going to feel more like a point of distraction and could feel even a bit more frustrating at this time, because we do see that there is something here about the masculine trying to get one's mind off of it in order to navigate through it, which could potentially, masculines, that's kind of like, that's like a time game. We have to see. And that's why I said right now, moderation is key for the masculine energy at this moment. Because there could even be a moment right now for masculine energy where you're recognizing that, like, even your distraction point is going to require a point of moderation as you proceed forward doing that work. Now, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Pentacles energy. So, feminine and masculine energy, this is going to feel a little bit different right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, there is a lot of care and attention that you are paying towards your own moment. Feminine energy has been going on this journey of inwards all throughout this Venus in retrograde cycle. Really paying a lot of focus on attention right now on the spiritual and emotional care of the self at this time, but also making some changes even in your tangible space at this moment, coming into a space where you want some of that balance that you're working for internally to affect or externally at this time. A lot of care and orientation in terms of your immediate environment that you're cultivating. This is also probably in reaction to some of that 10 of Pentacles in its reversal energy that we saw at our last daily collective reading, trying to mitigate some of that external chaos that you may have been experiencing by concentrating on what you can immediately impact and change in your current environment, with a lot of care and orientation that is effectively being paid right now to circumstances or situations that you may be feeling are lacking around some area or degree of communication at this time. Feminine energy, interestingly enough, to a certain extent, is also, in a way, navigating, finding that point of distraction for themselves at this moment, much like the masculine. But while the masculine is doing that right now, potentially from things that feel like they are enjoyable, finding those points of easement at this time, feminine is doing it by putting a lot of care and focus and degree and attention in their immediate environment to navigate any spaces or places where they are feeling some degree of communication that is not coming through the way that they would ideally desire it to. While for masculine energy as well, we are seeing that this is also leading to a bit of a distraction point at this moment. There is some alignment that we are definitely seeing here to a certain extent, because the masculine energy right now is also considering situations or circumstances where they feel like they are either waiting for communication or they feel like they don't know what to communicate. And they're just focusing a lot of that energy right now into their own immediate space and their own immediate environment to distract themselves from your own internal blockage as it relates to emotionally communicating or even knowing how to emotionally communicate what you are feeling at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Knight of Swords. So there is a lot of masculine energy that is on the table right now. I just need to say, these are a lot, masculine energy, there's a lot of things coming to the surface today. There's a lot of different emotion. I got to just stress for the masculine energy right now, you could be going through a lot of different feelings right now, because we're seeing that I feel like there's some kind of blockage point that we're really identifying here as it relates to how you potentially want to proceed at this time versus where you feel like you can. And we're almost seeing masculine energy right now. You're almost moving right now in those spaces or places that you see that there is any possibility of activity at this time, specifically to navigate around some circumstances or situations that you feel you're experiencing some blockage around at this moment. For the masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing here is, I have to show, this is like a bit of that point of frustration. Remember that point I mentioned about the moderation for masculine energy at this time? This is why we're seeing it here. Because again, there's almost something that is happening right now about trying to run away or move away from something. The most important question you can ask yourself right now, masculines, if you're experiencing this right now, is, are you running towards something or are you running away from something? Okay, that's going to be the major question that needs to come to the surface right now for the masculine energy, especially as we see some of this distraction energy that's coming through right now around some circumstances or situations that you are potentially moving into a state of distraction on. There could be a lot of assessment right now for the masculine energy to really ask what direction you're going in right now. And there could even be feeling right now some point of frustration that could potentially be arising today as it relates to this, because we do see that for the masculine energy right now, there is a lot of care and attention right now in terms of what you are trying to create that feels like it is allowing for a degree of comfort in your own life at this moment. However, we are also actively seeing right now that you are experiencing some sort of blockage right now as it relates to your own ability to articulate on that at this time, or feeling like you are blocked in some effective way in order to be able to communicate on what that is. So we see that the masculine energy, you're actually rushing right now into different spaces or places that feel like they're allowing some avenue or opportunity for this at this moment, while even experiencing some sort of blockage right now in terms of your own way of articulating what it is that you're trying to move towards at this time. So masculine energy, again, a little bit of caution to be paid today in terms of your own intentions as it relates to your activities at this moment, and making sure that your words match your actions. While for feminine energy right now, we are simultaneously seeing that, again, there is a lot of care and consideration that feminine energy is paying right now to care of the self, to their own emotional and spiritual sense of balance at this moment, potentially even putting a lot of this care and attention into their own immediate environment at this time to allow themselves to help navigate what could potentially feel like confusing energy as it relates to the masculine right now. Because if this is a single manifestation of masculine for feminine at this moment, there's also a lot of care or degree of uncertainty in terms of the masculine energy's intentions at this time. Because while we see here that the masculine energy towards feminine right now is in a space that it is building towards that sense of enjoyment, to those sense of delight, there is something here that feels like there's some kind of blockage around emotional intentionality or full communication that is feeling a little bit rushed for the feminine. The feminine energy that's even experiencing this around masculine right now could be feeling some anxiety or degree that the masculine energy, even if it means well right now, might be trying to move too quickly, right? And this is that slowdown that we're seeing around feminine right now, about trying to concentrate on the immediacy of the moment, as opposed to like having to mitigate some of the masculine energy's own feeling of rushing at this time. While for the other part of the feminine collective at this moment, this could be feeling the weight of multiple masculine energies around you at this time. And they all are coming through in different ways and in different scenarios. And all of them could feel a little bit problematic, because we're seeing here for the feminine right now's focus is specifically on what feels like it is emotionally and spiritually supportive. Feminine energy is putting a lot of care and attention into their own immediate environment. But we've got masculine energy around the feminine right now that's either not communicating or communicating poorly or moving too quickly, and it's creating anxiety for the feminine, or seems like they're only coming from a point of enjoyment, but not necessarily coming through in a way that like emotionally is open or communicative. So the feminine energy, what we appreciate about this though, feminine energy isn't working from a space of defensiveness around this. What we're really seeing the feminine doing is feminine is just focusing on their selves. They're focusing on their own sense of self. They're allowing, we keep seeing this in this retrograde feminine cycle. Feminine energy is not getting rushed into anything right now. Feminine energy is slowing things down until they feel comfortable. And things are moving at the pace of feminine wanting to feel comfortable with things. Why is that? Because feminine energy is working on healing tower moments. Feminine energy is feeling a little triggered. But what we love about this is feminine energy isn't coming from a state of reactivity around this trigger. Feminine energy is moving with a lot of intention through it. The intention feminine is putting is to themselves, to their own level of comfort, to their own degree of what feels comfortable at this time, even through some blockages that they're experiencing, or for some situations from the past that they're still actively trying to navigate through at this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our 9 of Pentacles in combination with our 8 of Swords transverse. This is why we see the feminine energy right now moving with this care or degree of slowness, this attention, this like deep intentionality on what feels comfortable for them at this moment, what feels emotionally and spiritually supportive. Feminine energy had that trigger point. Remember, we saw that trigger point last collective read. Feminine energy is triggered. Feminine energy isn't operating from the state of that trigger. Feminine energy is holding to a certain extent. Feminine energy is basically in a space right now where they would rather, feminine energy is really coming from a space right now where they'd rather move with a lot of degree of care and consideration than potentially take a misstep that might land them into a tower situation, is what we're really identifying at this time. Feminine energy is working today. They're putting a lot of that care and attention in, but they're doing it around their own environment, the security of their own environment, even while they're still actively experiencing some blockage in terms of breaking through their own personal limitations right now, their own personal boundaries. There is something here that does feel like it is the blockage, much like the masculine blockage that is coming through from the emotional sense right now. For feminine, This is getting through their own self-limiting beliefs. This is pushing through their own self-limiting beliefs in terms of what they feel or experience right now is a blockage from within the self or an external blockage. Some of that daily collective read that we saw last time. Remember that point of identification that we identified about whether the question was whether the trigger was something that felt like it was being accurately released or if it was something that needed to be navigated through because it wasn't. This is the feminine energy utilizing that point and care and energy and focus on the self to help them continue to navigate that territory. While for masculine right now, we see the fact that there are a lot of different emotions that are currently on the table right now for masculine energy. Masculine energy, you could be feeling like you're cycling through a lot of emotionality today pretty quickly, with a lot of care and consideration spent to a degree of distraction or what effectively feels good at this moment. Specifically, because what we're really seeing here at this time is for the masculine energy, you are in a moment that you are also putting a lot of care and consideration into what feels comfortable at this time. You are experiencing some sort of blockage right now, masculine, but we're seeing that this masculine blockage that you're experiencing right now has more to do with your own ability to move towards those things that you want to move towards at this time. You could even be feeling right now that you are at a moment where you very much want to rush forward, but you're feeling some kind of blockage in terms of plans or communication or your ability to articulate upon your own emotional needs at this time that is creating some of this hurdle. And we see that in effect you are rushing right now to any space or place that is helping you distract from that at this time, while not necessarily freeing you from the circumstances and situations that are causing that issue. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 7 of Cups. There's a consideration. What did I say earlier? What did I say earlier? The need for today is to make sure that you are operating from a space where you're not just doing things to avoid disaster. You're not just doing things as a point of remediation, but making sure that your intentionality is in effect, making sure that you're moving from a state of deep intentions. There is a moment of confusion that is effectively arising right now for both masculine and feminine energy, and uncertainty that is coming through right now as it relates to the path before you at this time, and feeling some of that anxiety or that degree of uncertainty at this time, looking at the options around you at this moment instead of moving from a place of internal guidance system, internal compass that is creating some of this point of limitation at this moment. For masculine and feminine energy, you're trying to find that point of balance through it. But this is the heart of what we're really seeing is creating that point of confusion. For masculine energy right now, there could be a lot of opportunities or directions that you can move into at this time. And this is that state of confusion that we effectively see the masculine energy potentially hitting right now as it relates to how to navigate through this energy at this time. Because for the masculine energy right now, there could even be a feeling right now of having to look at the circumstances and situations around you at this time and ask yourself, are these creating distraction, or are they the space or place that you really want to intend to move at this time? For masculine energy, there's even something here about your own emotional landscape, what you want emotionally at this time that could be feeling like it is such a challenge, because what we're really seeing here is a lot of this blockage for the masculine doesn't have to do with your own care or degree of moving towards something right now, but potentially having too many places or spaces that you feel that you can move towards at this moment. Feminine energy is also feeling this point of confusion here. We're seeing that this point of confusion is rising to the surface right now for feminine. It's resulting in feminine energy turning back inwards, turning back to the self at this time. Potentially, because there's even a point right now, if this is a singular masculine energy embodying these qualities and characteristics right now, there could be something right now with the feminine's interaction point with them that is creating a sense of confusion as it relates to the intentionality of that masculine energy. Wanting to really ascertain and make sure that the masculine energy's intentions are in alignment with your own at this time, feminine. While for the other part of the feminine energy right now, there could be a feeling of so much masculine energy moving towards you at this time, but not necessarily seeing it coming towards you in the way, shape, or form that you would ideally desire at this moment, which is from that emotionally vulnerable, open space and that communicative space that could be creating some of this challenge point. Because what we're really identifying and articulating here is that fact that for the feminine right now, a lot of this is triggering. There's something from the past that is being assessed right now very carefully that they're seeing in some way, shape, or form is playing out in the present. And this is what's creating the space right now where they are moving with the state of hesitancy or caution, specifically and especially around masculine energy at this time, to try to navigate away from circumstances or situations that they do not necessarily want to create towers or recreate a feeling of crisis that may have previously occurred. But this is also creating a sense of confusion for the feminine, because this care and orientation that you're playing in terms of like working in a defensive area, if you will, emotionally, is also making it hard for you to move forward intentionally from a point of purpose, from a point of clarity. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Swords. So for both masculine and feminine energy, what we really love to see right now is there is a lot of care and degree of attention being paid in terms of how to move forward from this point, a letting go of the grief, letting go of the pain, letting go of the injury, finding again, a lot of these experiences from the past potentially rising to the surface today, either, as we mentioned, on metaphysical levels or on interpersonal levels or on very practical purposes. But trying to come into a state of easement, trying to find a way to release the grief around them. For masculine energy right now, we see a lot of conviction in this area. Masculine energies like soul purpose right now is to find a way away from the grief. For some of the masculine energy right now, we're seeing this coming through right now in the sense that you are effectively potentially even distracting yourself with things that feel enjoyable at this moment to help navigate away from anything that is creating or allowing you to feel some degree or capacity of anxiety at this time. While for the feminine energy at this moment, this is that moment that you yourself are also working right now to navigate away from situations or circumstances that have been causing grief, allowing some of that grief to try to be removed. And again, either working right now to manifest masculine energy that is simultaneously on this same journey, or effectively having to mitigate right now a masculine energy that's moving towards you very quickly, but also recognizing that you need to abandon your own sense of grief, your own sense of heartbreak, your own sense of anxiety to be able to work with this masculine energy in the capacity that they're coming towards you at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Page of Pentacles. What is the point of easement that we are seeing that is coming through right now for both masculine and feminine energy? Tangible, practical opportunity. Points of correction. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, we see that there is this moment of remediation that is effectively occurring. For the masculine and the feminine energy at this time, there is a lot of care and consideration that is coming through right now in terms of what feels practical, what feels like it is immediately helping you as you navigate this journey going forward. For masculine energy right now, this is that moment that we're really seeing that you are effectively putting a lot of care and consideration. So much masculine energy on the table right now. You are putting a lot of care and consideration right now into letting yourself come into a state of easement of grief, of easement of any feelings of distress that you're currently feeling. We are seeing you are navigating very swiftly in that direction, navigating into spaces or places that are going to create solid opportunities or solid places you can put your opportunity and energy at this time to help you move away from anything that is causing too much heart loss, sense of disappointment, heartbreak, fear, etc. at this moment. While for the feminine energy right now, what we're really identifying is this is also a moment that feminine energy is utilizing this as a point of orientation, helping themselves let go of some of these experiences or feelings from the past at this time. How is feminine energy releasing some of this experience or feeling from the past right now? Because they're keeping their care and orientation on the masculine energy that is effectively showing them tangible, real, something that they can hold in their hands, and also with a degree of speed, with a degree of swiftness. They're showing that immediately. Remember what we've been seeing here. This all kind of started right now with masculine energy being in a Knight of Cups in its reversal in combination with the Page of Wands. So this would indicate masculine energy the feminine has experienced that is not able to emotionally express themselves in an open way, or is potentially not necessarily consistent or positive in that communication. The solution for feminine right now, the reason that they're allowing themselves to be able to move into the space of easement, is by recognizing the opposite. Recognizing masculine energy that moves very swiftly and is able to really kind of come forward with something that feels substantial and supportive at this time. For the feminine energy that's working through a singular manifestation embodying these qualities right now, this is why we're seeing that there's some point of remediation that can come through right now. This is some of that change right now in that energy that you have identified that's giving you the confidence to move forward at this time, even as you put this care and attention on the self and your own emotional and spiritual balance at this point. While for masculine energy right now, this is a point that we're really identifying that you yourself are putting a lot of conviction in terms of abandoning anything sense of grief or loss by committing yourself to something that you can tangibly impact right now in the present space. So what we appreciate here is you may start the day from a point of like looking for distraction, but some of that distraction energy gets put to like a much more stable, purposeful purpose, a more something that has more conviction to it and something more tangible. Like there's a lot of energy here in terms of the masculine energy really coming through a bit of a transformation today and going from something where you may start the day wanting to just get your mind off of something, but at the end of it, having something that you can actually hold in your hands that you feel like you've made some impact in as it relates to the circumstance or situation itself. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in combination with our Seven of Cups. So masculine and feminine energy, this is going to feel a little bit different depending on whether you align to one or the other, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For masculine energy right now, there is this moment that needs to be addressed, because while you may be feeling a lot of conviction right now, masculine, we see that you are moving very quickly. The big question to ask yourself today, masculine, is, are you moving towards something or are you moving away from something? And if so, you need to really focus on what that purpose is at this time. You really need to focus on what your intentionality is, what that overriding, driving sense of purpose is at this time. Because this could feel like a bit of frustrating energy right now for the masculine, because we see a lot of conviction coming in, but some uncertainty as to what it is that you're moving towards at this time. Potentially taking some of that slowness from the feminine to allow yourself to embody this, to move from an inward out approach as opposed to just tackling something for the sake of tackling it. While for feminine energy right now, this is a moment of a lot of deep internal review that's effectively happening at this time, because while we see that feminine is in a space where they're putting a lot of this care and attention in the self at this moment, there's a lot of deeper investigation that needs to be had at this time in terms of what it is that feminine truly wants at this moment. Specifically, because what we're really identifying and seeing at this time is feminine is working right now from a space or place where you are potentially seeing a masculine that seems very driven in terms of their own purpose, very driven in terms of their own desire. But to a certain extent, you may be feeling like your own needs and desires are effectively getting lost to a certain extent in the midst of that, which is why we see you requiring this methodicalness, this slowness, to help you get out of this moment of self-limiting beliefs and really understand and recognize what it is that you're truly seeking at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Two cards coming out to clarify right now. We like this, we like this, we like this, we like this a lot. The solution to this for both masculine and feminine energy at this time, moving out of the current sense of anxiety or difficulty or uncertainty, and really asking oneself, What does that long-term future scenario look like? The manifestation to hold right now in this moment of confusion has to do entirely not on where you find yourself at the present moment, but what you are ultimately trying to build at this time. What is that long-term plan? What is that long-term goal? The solve on this right now is really to say the point of mitigation in some of these experiences that you're having at this moment. The solution is effectively what is going to make it easier today to move towards your long-term plan and your long-term goal. And what we appreciate about this, I just need to point this out because it's kind of funny. The funny point about this is also how we're solving, to a certain extent, that moment where I said that we're coming into a state of remediation. Again, we saw here that this all started with this point of remediation, trying to come into a state of easement, specifically from a point of being triggered from situations from the past that you don't want to re-experience, or having some situation from the past that you're trying to navigate in a more positive way. Rather than moving, if you can't, it's almost like coming through, it's like if you cannot come through with like the full intentionality of today, the solution in terms of moving forward from this point is really focusing on what is that long-term goal? What is that long-term path? What can you do today to make that path a little bit easier tomorrow? That's really the beauty of what we're seeing here for both the masculine and feminine energy that are experiencing this point of stuckness in this experience, specifically as it relates to the point of confusion. So for feminine energy, what we're really seeing is happening today, feminine is putting a lot of care and attention into going inwards, doing the self-work, keeping this focus on the self, what feels like it is emotionally and spiritually supportive at this time, focusing on the long-term path, the long-term goal. And that is almost to a certain extent helping the feminine energy navigate and mitigate some masculine energy that is either coming towards them right now from a state of confusion or feeling like it is a bit too forceful in its own approach and its own directionality at this time. Feminine energy is utilizing that long-term path right now to help navigate some of this like confusing energy that they're currently experiencing at this time. While for masculine energy at this time, there is a point of easement that you yourself are also seeing here, because while we see that you are going through some energetic blocks, specifically in the realms of your own emotionality and your own ability to communicate at this time, we are also seeing that your point of orientation, recalibration, if you will, in terms of getting to move swiftly right now, is motivating yourself by looking at that long-term path that you are building for yourself at this moment and saying, what can you do at this time that is going to make it easier to achieve that? And what we appreciate is there's some kind of energy that's coming through here right now, which might feel like it's not the fact that this is immediately approachable or immediately tangible, but there are things you can do that move you step by step closer to that goal today. There are things you can do right now that would make it easier to move through that space tomorrow. So this is that refocusing and recalibrating out of that space of defensiveness that we see, that we start the day with, into one that feels more practical, like progress is being made for both the masculine and the feminine energy. And for masculine, this is potentially even putting a lot of swiftness and degree of movement right now in putting things forward that you feel are going to help you move you towards that long-term aim or that long-term goal in the best way possible. Final card for today's spread, between our Page of Pentacles, our 10 of Cups, and our 10 of Wands in its reversal. So for both masculine and feminine, this will feel a little bit different. For masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing is you're moving out of a space of distraction that you may be starting the day off with today, taking that to a certain extent, coming out of it, if you will, which is what we appreciate, coming into that point of moderation, and instead putting some practical energy and effort into putting forth something that you feel is going to help you move you a little bit closer to that long-term plan or that long-term path or that long-term goal that you're setting for yourself at this moment, making things a bit easier for yourself down the line with what you're offering at this present moment. While for the feminine right now, this is a moment that you yourself are putting in a lot of care and consideration in terms of what feels it is moving you to your long-term path, your long-term goal, your highest ideals at this time. versus anything that you feel is becoming too difficult, becoming too burdensome, trying to find that point of easement right now, and looking right now towards the masculine energy that is around you at this time to see them being able to put forth that sense of opportunity, that sense of ability in helping secure that long-term aspiration, wanting to really see that from the external energy around you right now. Feminine energy is very much in that pentacle space. We've been seeing this, wanting to see the tangible expression of where something is going to go in the long term, as opposed to something that they may just be feeling is creating a distraction for them in the present moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification with the Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. So we appreciate this. We really appreciate this because this is helping lend some optics to the situations and scenarios at hand right now. There is this moment of trusting in the path of fate at this moment. Recognizing, as we said, there is a moment right now of a remediation that's coming through, recognizing some situations or circumstances that did not necessarily result the way that you had hoped or intended them to, but coming into a sense of peace around them and recognizing that anything that hasn't effectively been working the way that you would ideally desire is probably a good sign that it wasn't necessarily the highest aligned path for you at this moment. Recognizing right now, addressing this. But what we appreciate here is putting that sense of practical application coming in right now on what it is that you're trying to manifest, and allowing yourself this point of easement on the things that did not line up the way that you would ideally desire, recognizing the hand that fate has played in those situations or circumstances to potentially navigate you away from situations and circumstances that may not have been aligned to your highest path or your long-term goal. We recognize that there is that point of easement right now. But what we appreciate about this is that that point of easement is coming through in the best way possible, because it is allowing oneself to surrender into the situation that you find yourself at this moment. Recognizing that there is always going to be that element that you cannot necessarily control, but that you can do your best to navigate and mitigate through as you proceed forward. Continuing, bottom of the deck right now for today's read is... we love this. We've got here our 10 of Swords in its reversal. So this can be feeling like a bit of heavy energy. We're seeing a lot of heavy cards here today. There is productive movement forward with a lot of care and attention towards what feels like it is supportive and stable. But there's a lot of work that's effectively happening right now around situations and circumstances that were very deeply triggering. Either ones that you're currently working to remediate at the present moment, or situations and circumstances from the past that may have caused some degree of difficulty for you at this time. There's this moment right now of feeling of a point of renewal, feeling like there is this point of rebirth that is happening at this time. But what we're really seeing right now is almost that anxiety and trepidation that is coming through at this point of rebirth because of some of the circumstances from the past that are lending insight in your current experience. The important thing to remember at this moment as you're going through this right now is allowing yourself to remember that these circumstances are not those past circumstances, that you are someone who is learning from these experiences as you go. And as a result of that, you are going to have different outcomes. We see for both masculine and feminine energy, there's a lot of care and concentration in terms of assessing or analyzing or even dealing with past circumstances right now. But it is a remembering right now that you are not the same person that effectively experienced those in the past, which means that they're going to have effectively different outcomes. That is our daily collective read for today. I'm the Gray Strega. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. Please remember, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you hit both buttons if you would like to have that reading. Also, please keep in mind that I will never, ever, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never inbox you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a private reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing this reading. And we will do this again tomorrow. Guys, that's